starving over here. Oh, man. Oh. Maybe we can have some of this. We got some Italian sausage and some... Oh! Hello there! Welcome to Shoe Time in the Morning with Mitch! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shoe Time in the Morning with Mitch! We've talked about diet and health. Ladies and gentlemen, don't fall victim. We saw what 2,000 calories looks like on a plate and different aspects of it. Just so happened to have some Haagen-Dazs caramel cone ice cream here that I'm not going to eat, but it's here. All right? Take a look at the nutrition label. We got 32 grams of sugar in this bad boy. But wait a minute.
That's not too bad, is it?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Only 32 grams?
400 calories.
Wow.
But there's 5 servings in here. 2,000 calories. 180 something grams of sugar. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
Read those labels.
Woo-hoo.
Gotta read those labels.
Is there a song? Don't be fooled again.
That's the Who, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Some of you guys are more healthy. I told you we got frozen grapes galore.
Oh, look
Grapesicles.
Frozen grapesicles are a great snack.
Oh,
Never
yeah.
tried them. I mentioned that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Frozen grapes are a great dessert.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shoe Time in the Morning with Mitch. We are in the temporary kitchen, all right? That's nutrition. But we're on to another mission, and that's to learn about cardiovascular fitness, all right? Cardiovascular fitness, our health, our lungs, making sure everything delivers oxygen efficiently to all parts of our body, our brain, our muscles, our organs, etc. Now, we learned about what it's made up of last time. We learned about the importance of diet in keeping our arteries and our vessels clear. Also, to make sure we don't have cholesterol or plaque buildup in our arteries. And if we do, it could increase blood pressure. But how do we exercise to make sure that we are keeping that vascular stuff up? Best question that we've had all day. Here's the deal. There are 2 types of exercise. 2, period. All categories, all exercises can be in one of these 2 categories. There is aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic and anaerobic. And here's the deal. Aerobic exercise is any exercise that can be done for long periods of time and uses oxygen as its primary fuel source. Anaerobic is any exercise that taps into your muscles and your muscles' glycogen and cannot be sustained at maximum pace for a long period of time. So, for instance, sprints, anaerobic. You cannot sprint for like 2 minutes straight. Your body's going to say, whoop, hold up. Oxygen can't keep up. Use all of your glycogen, all of your power in your muscles, and then you're going to get lactic acid buildup. Lactic acid is the buildup, the waste product of the muscle working, and that's why your legs or your arms or your body burns when you're working out, when you're running the mile, for instance. All right, that's lactic acid. But sprinting, you cannot do for a long period of time. It's not oxygen-based. That is anaerobic. Running the mile is aerobic because as soon as you get your pattern down, you're able to breathe and keep it up for a long period of time. Running a mile, running 2 miles, running 10 miles. Matter of fact, they have ultra marathons where people run 100 miles. Ooh. Now, that are 2 examples of anaerobic and aerobic. But let's think of some type of aerobic exercises together. Right now, we're going to pause for about 25 seconds. You guys type in aerobic exercises in the chat box. Go.
Well, I can think of a couple.
Mr. Mitchell, name us some aerobic exercises.
I'm a big hiker. I can hike for miles. I'm also a huge bike rider. I can ride for miles.
Mr. Mornhenwig, you got any in there?
Sure. Something for you guys who don't really like working out, which I'm sure there's more than a handful. Walking is a good one. You can walk for a long time, most of you. So start with walking if you don't like it. Working out, that is. Then go to a fast walk, then a slow jog.
Absolutely. All great examples of aerobic exercises. All right, you can breathe while you're doing it. You can do it for a long, extended period of time. All right, swimming could be another aerobic exercise, but swimming can fall into both. If you're doing sprints and swimming, all right, that's not so aerobic. You're going to burn out pretty quickly. But if you're doing long distance swimming, or you're just swimming across a lake or a river. Have either of you guys ever swam across a river or a lake before?
I've done the mile swim.
The mile swim.
Yeah, I was tested in swimming the mile.
Ooh, Mr. Mornhenwig, you ever swam a mile before? I cannot say that I have.
I don't think I've ever swam a mile in length, but if you look back when I was younger, I probably swam a mile in quick spurts, stop, going underwater in the pool.
Well,
But no, never like that. Never a straight mile.
That's pretty good, Mr. Mitchell.
That is good.
Nice.
All right, and then we have anaerobic exercises. Anaerobic exercises, a lot of our sports are going to fall into anaerobic exercises because a lot of it involves sprinting. You know, basketball can be anaerobic. You're chasing down someone, boom, stop, whoo. All right, that ball's back in, going again. All right, you're stopping and starting, stopping and starting. All right, you are not able to go full speed 100% of the time. Hockey might be one of the most demanding on the body. You see hockey players, all right, they're usually on a hockey team is 4 lines, and an average shift might last 2 minutes. Right, you're in there, busting your butt. Whew, okay, whew, let me jump off. Next team comes in, going, next line on that team, and they're constantly shifting. Hockey is a great one. Football is a great one.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, boxing. Gotta say boxing. Martial arts, but boxing, obviously my favorite sport there. All right, you have people who are in great shape, but boom, I gotta tell you, if you guys don't know, if you've never boxed before, it may look like there's just 2 guys punching, but I guarantee you, if you've never done it before, you will probably not last 2 minutes in a ring. Not because of being punched, because of the amount of energy that is needed for you to move around, and you're moving around, bouncing around, and you're trying to stop from being hit, and you're trying to hit somebody. All right, it's very challenging. You got all that stuff that goes in there. All of that stuff is great anaerobic exercise, but keeping in mind, both of them are good for your vascular system. You want to push your vascular system slowly but surely and become the best fit you can be. All right, some of the best cardio, we said, not only for burning calories, but for building our body, is the high-intensity interval training cardio that Mr. Mitchell is so often fond of. The high-intensity interval training works on the principle of hitting it really hard for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, stopping, taking a little breather, 10-second break, hitting it again, stopping, hitting it again. And let me tell you, your body's fluctuating, and that is great for your body. Great for your body, cardio training. Just as good for your body is some aerobic exercise. And when we do the fitness test that you guys have lucked out of having to do, the cardio that we do most often is the mile run. Some of you guys have done the pacer test too. That's another good one. But the mile run is the one that we do here at Bret Hart to test your cardiovascular fitness. And I'm curious because I haven't gotten to really know my students as well as I would at this time. I want to know right now if you could type in what your best mile time is. If you're embarrassed, put it in the private chat. No need to be embarrassed. We're all different states of shape. But what is your best mile run? Now, Mr. SchuMornMitch, as you may know, I actually started running the mile a lot lately at lunch because I got to get some motion in. But when I was your age, I hated running a mile. There's no shame in admitting it. It just was what it was. Because I'm a cheetah, which means I can run really fast from point A to point B. But distance, forget about it. But my best mile time, honestly, probably was in the 7s. I was never a great mile runner. Never, ever. However, Mr. Mornhenwig, what is your best mile time?
My best mile time was 5:45.
Pretty darn good.
Very good.
And how'd you feel afterwards?
I did not want to do it before I ran that mile, And I never wanted to do it again after I ran that mile. That might give you guys a clue how much I enjoyed distance running.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Mr. Mitchell?
Nah, I'm like you, Mr. SchuMornMitch. I was in the 7s. I never broke into the 6s. I was a sprinter. I was second fastest in my class in the 50-yard dash, but I was never a big mile runner. Never a big mile runner.
Mouse Mitchell, get it in. All right, here's the deal, guys. All that stuff is great for you, and the purpose is to train your vascular system to be as efficient as possible. Efficient as possible. That's the key. The more you work it, just like every other muscle, your heart is a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. The more efficient it gets. What that means is, it eventually, after repetition and lots of practice, will develop the ability to do the same work with much less effort, or twice the amount of work with, obviously, probably about the same effort as you get now. So, if you get extreme fitness to the point of your best ability, and it's going to be different for everyone else, but the best of your ability, then your heart is going to work a whole lot less when you're at rest. And it's going to work a whole lot less when you're moving around. So, some of you guys now haven't ran or done anything, and you might come back and run 100 yards and be winded when you were running Bronco laps like water every day last year. Some of you guys used to be 6-minute milers, and you may come back in 8 minutes, may kick your butt for a little while because you haven't ran a while. Some of you guys who kept it up, and it may be like nothing. You get right back into it. But you can always improve your fitness and your vascular fitness through these things. So we want to encourage you to remember that and continue to do that. Right? One of the big numbers that we go for our blood pressure to measure our heart health is there is a ratio, right? And a perfect ratio or a good ratio in a healthy range, 120/80 of a systolic and a diastolic pressure. Systolic is the pressure, I believe, when heart's beating at full pressure. That's the larger number. And then the smaller number is the blood pressure in the hoses, your veins, your arteries, when the heart in between beats. So there's no pump pressure, and what's the standard pressure there? And then the last thing they got, of course, is the beats per minute. How many beats a minute is your heart beating? If you are a super athlete in prime shape, I mean, we're talking the top of the top. Some people heart beat as low as 30 beats per minute. And that's phenomenal. I mean, that's like the best of the best. Most adults are between 50 and 70, and some are in the 80s. And then if you're really out of shape, you might be in the 90s, high 90s. And they say that if you're, as long as you're under 100, you're in a somewhat normal range. But if it's going over that beats per minute, your heart is working too hard. But you want to be on that lower end to make sure your heart is efficient.
About a beat a second.
Yeah, about a beat a second. 60 is perfect. 60 is perfect. All right. So, anaerobic and aerobic. What word do you hear in there? Aerobic. Air. What's in the air? Oxygen. That's what you breathe. All right. So, oxygen-based exercise is aerobic, and the opposite of aerobic, anaerobic, is exercise that's not oxygen-based. So, understand that, and understand what the two types entail, and think about how you can incorporate both of those into your daily training. Mr. Morton-Henley?
Mr. Mitchell, Mr. SchuMornMitch, I got another question for you guys. What's one thing in your life, could be from the time you were 13, like most of these students, 12, 13 years old, some of you might be 14, could be from that age bracket all the way up to the age we are now. What's one thing in your life that caused pain or fear that you needed to deal with? Mr. Mitchell.
All right. When I was around your age, kids, there was a movie. It was called Jaws.
Woo, baby!
This movie, if you haven't seen it before, was about this giant shark that just chewed up a whole bunch of people swimming in the ocean. And once that movie came out, I was going into the ocean fearful of seeing a shark or seeing a fin or hearing that stupid music, da-da, da-da,
Boom, boom.
And it took me a little while, it really did, to stop looking for dorsal fins. I'm telling you, it did. But after about a year, I just realized, hey, it was a movie. It's not real life. There's no shark's gonna come up and chew me. A shark attack happens like once a year to human beings, and usually it's in Australia or in Hawaii. I'm sitting in New York, swimming, looking for sharks at Jones Beach, for God's sake. So that was my fear, and that's what I conquered.
Good. Mr. SchuMornMitch, pain or fear that you've experienced that you had to deal with, and how did it work out?
Well, it's a great question, to be honest with you. There's different levels of fear and pain in life. Pain, I don't struggle with a lot of pain. I do have pain from time to time, but I don't struggle with a lot of pain. Fear, different thing. And at different levels, when I was your age, perhaps, I mean, just being realistic, I was your age, and the first thing on my mind as a man in your position was the young ladies in your position. So I used to have a little bit of a, I'm going to call it fear, apprehension, nervousness, even worried about, hey, I'm going to go try and talk to this young lady, hey, I'm Thomas, and blah, blah, blah. And that was a different type of pain, or fear, rather, to get over, right? The fear of rejection. But, I was confident, but, you never know. But life continues on, and I got to say, just because it popped in my mind when you asked the question, one of the biggest fears in life that I just wasn't ready for, but you had to deal with it. To be quite honest, guys, about 5 or 6 years ago, my father passed away, and on my dad's side of the family, I just happened to be the oldest male. Now, there were probably, at one point in time, 35 SchuMornMitchs rolling around on that side of the family. That were uncles, older great-uncles, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, you name it. But it just so happened that when my father died, he was the last of his generation, and I wasn't ready to be the head of, the oldest male in my family. I just wasn't ready for it. But it was here, and guess what? It's not going to go away. So you got to put your head down, take care of business, and it was challenging, to be honest with you, because there were things that I quite wish that someone was there so I could ask a couple questions or get some guidance how to do. But it's the cards that I was dealt, and I just pushed through the fear and apprehension, and you handle business, and that's the way it rolls.
Embrace the challenge.
Embrace the challenge. There it is. And then you got to be a better leader for your family because of it. So I would think that would be the roughest fear or the roughest situation that I had to go through and kind of fight through.
Indeed. And guys, realize that most pain is followed by fear. Why? Because we're fearful the pain won't go away. But these guys just shared two things. They made it through. They had some pain. It could have been physical or emotional or psychological, but they faced up to it, and the fear subsided because the pain went away. But they had to face up to it. It's like so many people don't like dark clouds, figuratively speaking, like tough times. And a lot of people look at the dark clouds, guys, they turn their back and walk away. They run away from the dark cloud. But what they fail to realize is behind that dark cloud is a silver lining. But to see the silver lining, you got to look at the dark cloud.
How about you, Mr. SchuMornMitch?
Well, it's a good question. It's ironic. Mr. SchuMornMitch brought it up already. Can you remember what he was saying about me or asked me about the mile, my fastest mile time? That was when I was in college. I was 19 years old. I was playing baseball at my college I went to, and
You got to own that one. San Jose State Spartans, baby.
Yeah, San Jose State Spartans.
There you go, no Spartans.
I mixed up the days of practice, and I missed our first practice. The head coach called me up on the phone that night. Hey, Brad, where were you? I said, well, what do you mean? We're having practice tomorrow. He said, no, our first meeting was today. We had practice. He said, instead of running a 6:30 mile, you got to run a 6-minute mile. And I've already told you, I don't like distance. Me and Mr. SchuMornMitch can write a book on that. And Mr. Mitch doesn't like much distance either. But all the other infielders had to finish the mile in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Then my coach said, as a discipline, as a punishment for you missing practice, you got to run it in 6 minutes or less. 30 seconds, you can cover a lot of space running the mile in 30 seconds, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'll tell you, it was kind of like the Jaws thing, kind of like Mr. SchuMornMitch's example, being the man of the family, the standing male of the family. I experienced some fear about that. and I really did. I had some fear in my heart, and I just remember, boom, the whistle blowing, it took off, and that's when I finished in 5:45. I never want to run the mile again, and guess what, guys? I probably won't. I don't have that in my regimen as a workout. So, yeah, it's having to do that mile in less than 6 minutes, and I'm very thankful I got it in 5:45. Sports Factor, what do you got for us this Thursday?
All right, I want to talk marathon again. And I had 2 questions. And since this is the end of our cardio unit, maybe I'll throw them both in. Why not? All right, so question 1 would be, what is the best official time for a marathon?
Great question.
Nice.
Question 2 would be, one small country is known for producing the best marathon runners in the world. What country is that?
Ooh, you got 2 good questions there from the Sports Factor. By the way, this video will be showing Thursday and Friday. I don't want to leave you Fridayers out. All right, Jolly Geographer.
Sounds like a geography question was just asked by the Sports Factor. And that's a great question. All right, what country are they from? But to get back to my originally question, here's the question. First and foremost, did you get where the marathon originated from? It originated in Greece. There was a battle. After the battle was won, they had a Greek messenger run back to his town to exclaim the news that they had won the battle. And he ran back exactly 26.2 miles. That's the distance of a marathon. We won the war! We won! We won! Boom! And had a heart attack and died right on the spot. All right? Ran 26.2 miles to deliver the news and died. And they named the race after the town marathon where he was running towards. And I believe his name was Phidippides, was the guy that ran it. Now, when they came into the Olympics, first Olympics of the modern era in the late 1800s, they had the marathon as one of the events. And as a respect to that event, one city in the world had a marathon and has had a marathon every year to become the oldest continuous marathon in existence. What city is the oldest marathon currently ran in and has been ran since 1897?
Good.
A man went to the doctor, and the man said, "Doctor, can you prescribe me some medication to help me stop sleepwalking?" Well, the doctor looked at the man up and down and all around and said, "Sir, no, you need the exercise." All right.
That's a mean doctor.
That is a mean doctor. But perhaps the guy was like well overweight. Doctor was just trying to encourage him.
That was Dr. Pepper.
He's a pepper, she's a pepper, they're a pepper. Drink Dr. Pepper, yeah.
Now,
See what we're saying about the singing? See what we're saying?
but here's the thing too, Mr. SchuMornMitch, I know that's a Dr. Pepper jingle, and that has been the Dr. Pepper jingle. Like they stopped using that in like '86.
Yeah.
But remember, we talked about nutrition. I talked to my class about this. You may not remember in 10 years. Who's in your PE class right now? You remember 1 or 2 people? You may not remember what do we do in the 4th unit. But I guarantee you those marketing people are smart. They're going to put these jingles in, and you'll remember Dr. Pepper jingles 30, 40 years after you were in 7th grade. So, be mindful of that. They're trying to get your money. Don't just fall for the jingle. I'm sorry, Mr. SchuMornMitch, go ahead.
No worries, no worries. So here's the principle, guys. We've talked about it a little bit before. We all shared a pain we've been through, which caused fear. So there's 2 ways to deal with pain, which sometimes leads to fear. Normally it does, not always, but a lot of times pain will lead to fear. There's 2 ways to handle that. 1, you can numb it. You can numb your pain. Or 2, you can confront it. So when you numb pain, you ignore it. It's like you sweep it under the rug. Or you can confront it. You can deal with it. Mr. Shoemaker has dealt with being the man, the last standing man. Mr. Mitchell has dealt with the shark issue. I've dealt with running a mile. But what you're going to find out, guys, is once you conquer one fear, which followed up a particular pain in your life, what's going to happen? There's going to be another test, another challenge.
It's part of life.
It's part of life. So guys, that's why we three are on you guys about, for an example, be on camera. Turn your camera on. Some of you are saying, why? I don't like the pain of the exercise and I'm fearful. Someone will look at me and, guys, if you get in the habit of ignoring pain and fear, when you're our age, you're going to have a bunch of fears and a bunch of pains you haven't dealt with, and you're going to be non-efficient as an adult or less efficient than you could be. So, don't numb pain and fear. Confront it.
Conquer it.
Conquer it. Conquer it. It's like someone coming up to tackle and you give them a little, stiff arm. You guys have heard the Heisman Trophy, the guy, and it's a stiff arm. Stiff arm. He comes running, it's a stiff arm. Like the stiff arm. You go to bed with a stiff arm. Stiff arm. Stiff arm.
Whoa! Whoa! What are we doing here?
Well, we're still building healthy relationships.
And what's the purpose of Bret Hart?
HR squared.
Honesty, respect, responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Morning, he's right. Here's the deal. The biggest advantage I made, I think, in life, especially when it comes to sports or doing things in public, is I stopped caring what people think. That doesn't mean that I walked around in my skivvies and with no haircut, whatever. Not that type of stuff. But I stopped letting other people opinion of what I may go. I stopped caring about that. Like, I knew what I was good at. I knew I was going to go for it and do, and I've accomplished a lot because of that. So, you're absolutely right. Keep on pushing to be yourself, all right, and confront the things that are there to be confronted. They're obstacles, all right? You can either keep bumping into the obstacle, you can run away from the obstacle, or you can find a way to go over the obstacle. So, figure it out.
Be comfortable in your own bodies, kids.
Absolutely.
You're all good kids.
Absolutely.
You are.
Absolutely. So, be a better you, just a little bit better today than you were yesterday, and keep on pushing. Push on 3. 1, 2, 3.